the punishment and expulsion from Eden. In the beginning, God created a perfect world, a garden of delights called Eden. In this paradise, Adam and Eve enjoyed the company of their Creator and the abundance of creation. Everything was harmonious. The trees bore fruit, the rivers flowed with fresh water, and peace reigned in every corner. The relationship between Adam and Eve was pure and sincere, and their life was a constant dance of love and gratitude toward God. However, in the midst of this perfection, God had imposed a commandment: do not eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
He warned them that if they did, they would die.
One day, while walking through the garden, Eve encountered a cunning serpent that seduced her with deceptive words. "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" asked the serpent, suggesting that God was restricting their freedom. Eve, captivated by the beauty of the forbidden fruit, began to doubt God's goodness. "You will not surely die," the serpent continued, "for God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The temptation became irresistible. Eve took the fruit and, without hesitation, offered it to Adam, who also ate. Instantly, their eyes were opened, and they realized their nakedness. They felt shame and, for the first time, experienced fear. They hid among the trees, covering their nakedness with fig leaves. In their hearts, guilt took root, and their relationship with God was broken. Eden, which had once been a refuge of joy, now became a place of fear. God, in his infinite wisdom and justice, sought out Adam and Eve. Calling out to them, he asked, "Where are you?" Adam replied fearfully, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid myself." God, knowing what had happened, asked them if they had eaten from the fruit he had forbidden. Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. The atmosphere of guilt grew, and each tried to avoid the responsibility for their actions. Seeing the disobedience, God pronounced judgments upon each of them. To the serpent, he said it would be cursed among all animals and would crawl on its belly. To Eve, he declared that he would greatly multiply her pain in childbirth and that her desire would be for her husband, who would rule over her. Finally, to Adam, he said that the ground would be cursed because of him, and that he would toil and eat from it all the days of his life. The consequence of sin was the separation from the perfect communion they once had with God. The act of disobedience not only affected Adam and Eve, but also altered creation itself. The Eden that had once been filled with life and harmony began to suffer. The relationship between humanity and nature became tense, and death, an imminent reality, entered the world. God, in his justice, decided to expel Adam and Eve from the garden. He placed cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the path to the tree of life. The expulsion was an act of love and justice. Although God had created them to live in communion with him, sin had broken that relationship. In his heart, there was sorrow, but also the hope of redemption. Before expelling them, God made garments of skin to cover their nakedness, a gesture symbolizing the sacrifice that would come later. Adam and Eve were sent to the land outside of Eden, where they would have to toil the ground and face the hardships of life. They learned to cultivate, to fight against thorns, and to confront the consequences of their decision. However, in their expulsion, there was a promise. The seed of the woman would crush the head of the serpent, an indication of future redemption. Thus, the story of Eden reminds us of the nature of sin and the justice of God. Despite their disobedience, the hope of restoration was never extinguished. The story of humanity continues, a journey in search of redemption, a longing to return to the communion they once enjoyed with their Creator. The expulsion from Eden marked the beginning of a new chapter, a reminder that God's love persists even in the midst of judgment.